Hello and welcome to Bud's RPG Review, where I give my thoughts on role-playing games, card games and board games. Today's review is Matrons of Mystery by Sue Savage. Okay, first a bit of history. Released in 2021, Matrons of Mystery is available in print as a 42-page A5 softback book from Lulu.com. It describes itself as a cosy mystery role-playing game. To the cover. The art here by Matthew Holland actually suits the game perfectly. You'll see why as we progress. To the inside. We get past the credits and move on to the introduction. Here it goes into Agatha Christie writing about Miss Marple in 1927 and creating a whole new kind of detective genre where old ladies defy social expectations and use their sharp wits to solve murders. It describes itself as a role-playing game for 3 to 5 players where you take on the role of these lady sleuths by tackling what is described as a cosy mystery. The book provides guidance and rules on how to create and play these Matrons of Mystery, as well as information for the GM to use and a few scenarios to start you off. The game acknowledges the creators of Powered by the Apocalypse, as this provides a rules framework, and also to Jason Cordova for Brindlewood Bay, a game that showed how it could be applied to a murder mystery style genre. It also mentions that one-on-one games are also achievable and are in here amongst the optional rules. We then move on how to play. You need 3d6, a pencil, some paper, the character creation guide, and a copy of the moves list. The GM simply needs this book, no cards, a pencil, and a mystery. Matrons can perform a move as an action. Making a move involves rolling 2d6, adding them up, and then adding whatever situational or skill modifier is available. A total of 10 plus is a success, a 7 to 9 is a success with a complication, and below 6 is a failure with a complication. Advantage and disadvantage are available by rolling all 3 dice and either removing the highest or lowest result respectively. If advantage and disadvantage would be gained, they cancel each other out. Complications are things that make things more difficult. The example given is a matron climbing through a window and gaining a complication. This could be slipping and falling, knocking over a vase, or even unwanted guests. As a result of a complication, a matron may obtain a condition. These should be appropriate. For example, falling when climbing in through a window could be a sprained ankle. A complication that would negatively affect a matron doing another action means it's rolled with disadvantage. The real core of the game is the mystery. This is the introduction of suspects, secrets and clues, and are the responsibility of the GM and are gained by using the investigate and intimidate actions. They can be non-specific. The mystery is solved when the matrons use the put it all together move and make a successful roll, but more on that in a bit. Character creation is really quite simple. The matrons are all single women who are 50 plus and with time on their hands. Partners have departed one way or another, and children have flown the nest, and they are living their golden years in leisure and hobbies, friendship and solving murders. It's set somewhere nice in the UK, maybe a little village, and the players should think of a name for that. We have a list of names and styles from smart and classic to twin set and pearls, and we also have the hobbies they may be involved in, things like knitting, cooking and antiques. Players should write a short background that includes what happened to their partner, what their career used to be, and if they have children, and if not, they should pick another young relative that they're fond of. Matrons have different styles of investigation, those being physical, i.e. picking locks, climbing through windows, logical, as in using deductive skills and performing experiments, intuitive, things like searching rooms, observing body language, and gregarious, that being using their wit and charm to glean information. One of these skills should have a +2 and then drop 1 going down, i.e. +1, +0, -1 to each other one respectively. They also each have a contact from their past, usually one of their children, and their name, occupation and relationship with the matron should be noted down. XP is gained at the end of the session and is earned for solving mysteries, learning new things about your fellow matrons, helping a young person in a romantic relationship, and using your hobby practically. All actually really well thought out things that are abundant in these genres. XP can be spent to increase rolls by +1 for each point put into it to a maximum of +3, and 5 can be spent in between mysteries to increase an investigative skill by 1 to a maximum of +2, except your primary style, which can be +3. Next up is moves. When a matron performs an action that coincides with a move, it is triggered as listed here. Investigate is done by rolling the investigative style. On a 10 plus, a clue is found, a 7 to 9 is a clue with a complication, and a 6 finds nothing useful and adds a complication. Similarly, with interrogate, 10 plus means the suspect spills a secret, 7 to 9 they spill a secret and create a complication, and a 6 minus will cause a negative emotional response that adds a complication. Also, any further attempts could be at a disadvantage if the GM decides so. Take action is doing something potentially risky. The matrons should describe what they're doing and what could go wrong, and then roll based on their investigative style. 10 plus is a success, 7 to 9 is a success with the complication, and below 6 is the negative consequence the matron explained. If they want to lend a hand, they need to describe how they're doing this. On a 10 plus, they give the matron their helping advantage. A 7 to 9, they gain advantage but share in negative consequences on a failure. And a 6 and below is no help but a generous share of the consequences. Ask a favour is the ability to reach out to an old friend, family member or past relationship using their investigative style. If they're a contact, they automatically help. If not, the matron rolls. A 10 plus means they help and can be added to the matron's contact list. A 7 to 9, they help but just this once, and a complication is gained, and a 6 minus means they won't help and there's a complication. Help will give advantage on rolls where they would be useful. There is the skill Reminisce. Here, the matrons chat and describe something from their past that gives them advantage to something they're doing. There is the wonderfully named Nice Cup of Tea and a Sit Down, where the matrons take a well-earned break and have a friendly chat alongside a nice brew. This removes a condition. We have Go to Adverts. This can be invoked once per session when a matron is in serious danger. The action pauses on a cliffhanger, and the matrons then discuss and describe how the particular matrons get out of that predicament unharmed, and how it plays out when the adverts are finished. And finally, we have Put It All Together. This is where the matrons try to solve the murder. One of them makes a roll, and they get a +1 for each clue and -1 for each suspect. On a 10 plus, they work it out and can take the culprit down. A 7 to 9 is the right solution, but a complication or danger is involved. They need to overcome this to win. A 6 or below means the solution is wrong. The GM should describe an inconsistency in their solution, though another attempt may be made upon the further discovery of a clue. The section after this deals with how to write a mystery. We have some good advice on choosing a theme, things like a vicarage, golf course, or a village fete, and it goes into the method of setting up the scene where the murder happens. The cause of death doesn't necessarily have to be clear-cut, and may be something the matrons need to work out. It discusses how to get them involved in the investigation and how to kick things off, and it goes into how to determine the suspects, including their opportunities, potential motives, and maybe even the fact that they're outsiders. It then goes into defining the secrets. What are the possible motives for the suspects to commit the murder? These could include things like greed, jealousy, revenge, love, or secrecy. A suitable motive should be noted down for each suspect and a list of the secrets they keep. On top of this, a list of clues should be compiled, usually a limit of around 20. They don't necessarily have to all be found and can include things such as the murder weapon, conversations, evidence and the like. The next part is called How to Run a Mystery. It goes through the kind of thing you might expect, such as familiarising yourself and preparing the table. However, it covers the difference between playing in person and playing online, which I have to say is the first time I've personally seen this addressed in a gaming product. It goes into how to set the scene, introduce the suspects and facilitate the investigation, as well as when moves are triggered. It's a fine line between told by a player and spotting it in the wild. It discusses clues and how to adjust them based on what the matrons find, and the use of secrets, making the distinction that witnesses don't have any secrets of their own and will only spill those of suspects if they know any. It briefly discusses complications and then goes into solving the mystery with the put it all together move, with 3 possible outcomes, and details what to do should a suspect die or have an alibi. Next up is the optional rules. It goes into how to play one-on-one. Essentially, the matron will have either a young assistant or a beloved pet that has a special skill. For example, the young assistant could be skilled with computers, or a pet dog could be a good tracker. They can also lend a hand when needed, with the share and complications included. Familiar faces are another optional rule. This allows the matrons to see someone they know that may come and help them. To do so, they roll d6, and on a 1, it's a retired police superintendent, a 2, an old school friend, a 3, a past romantic relationship, a 4, a distant family member, a 5, a former criminal, and a 6 means there are no familiar faces. Once that's done, another d6 is rolled to see their reaction. On a 1 to 3, they will help, and a 4 to 6, they will hinder for a variety of noted reasons. A familiar face can be used as a source of complications during the mystery. It then goes into the inspiration for Matrons of Mystery. Obviously we have Agatha Christie's Miss Marple, but there are others such as Rosemary and Thyme, Agatha Raisin, Queens of Mystery, Father Brown and Midsummer Murders. It's interesting to note that a number of these adaptations are in quite recent memory. We then have 3 sample mysteries for the GM to use. Obviously I won't spoil them, but we have Gardener's Question Crime, which has a celebrity TV gardener murdered, Dicing with Death, which takes place at a role-playing game convention when a popular GM and award-winning game writer meets his end, and Ding Dong Death, which occurs at the National Bell Ringing Championship when the lead bell ringer is found dangling upside down from one of the bell ropes. It's all very evocative and interesting, and there are a number of faces I recognise here. Lastly, it is bookended with a character sheet. Matrons of Mystery is simply the most English game I've ever read, and that is not said with any sense of disappointment. I think the author perfectly captures the essence of the likes of Miss Marple and Midsummer Murders, and this is wonderfully demonstrated in the moves. The example mysteries are nicely done, the system's quick and decisive, and I can see it being played at conventions going forward. There's really not a lot in the way of crunch here, and it relies on the players evoking a world that only really partially exists in reality. It feels like it would be a better game with fewer players, which is not something I can say often. I've been lucky enough to play a game of Matrons of Mystery with Sue running it, and I have to say we had a blast. So if you fancy playing a character that can have a nice sit down and a virtual cup of tea, maybe with a clot of cream and jam scone, to help that twisted ankle that you received climbing in through the window of the vicarage to see if you could find any clues to the murder of the local police chief, this is a game for you. It'll be a chance to reminisce, work out what you've been missing, and bring the criminal to the justice they deserve. I give it an 8 out of 10. If you enjoyed this review, please make sure to hit the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Also, if you're interested in buying this product, put some links below. Lastly, if you like what I produce here, then maybe think about supporting me on Patreon or even becoming a member of my YouTube channel. Bud out.